Hi and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Becky and today we are going to be sewing one of the house blocks for the Walkabout Quilt-a-long. So if you've missed any of our previous videos for the quilt blocks, I'm going to be referring you back to one of the first videos which will give you an overall view of the Walkabout Quilt-a-long. So if you've missed any of that, make sure you go back to the beginning. There's going to be a link in the description for that first video. That will give you all the details that you need, as well as the information on how you can get a copy of the PDF patterns that we are going to be using during this. You can also head to my website at Patchwork Posse, and then in the search, look up Walkabout Quilt-a-long, and all of those blog posts will show up to help you get you on track and catch you up. Let's go ahead and jump right in and take a look at what block we are going to be sewing today. So this is the house block, and as you can see, we've got a couple windows in here. We have a roof piece. So you can have some fun with these windows as well as the doors. So kind of think outside the box, maybe do some fussy cutting in here. But overall, it's a super easy block to make. Make sure you check the description to see how you can get access to the PDF pattern as well as all of the patterns that are included in this series. All right, so for this block, we are going to be sewing the center house unit. First thing we are going to need to do is mark on the wrong side of the fabric from corner to corner on the diagonal of our C pieces. So as you can see, I've got everything kind of laid out, and I've got my little fabric piece markers. Check the description to see where you can get the download for that. But I am just going to draw a line from corner to corner on the wrong side of those C units. And for this block, that's the only marking that we need to do. So I know C pairs up with H according to my drawing. So I'm going to take this off, but I am also going to lay these so the diagonal line is in the correct position on the piece. And I'm going to just pin them in place so when I transfer it over to my sewing machine, they don't get shifted or moved. So the next thing I'm going to do is lay out kind of the unit that has the windows. So I know the window units are A, and F is in between, and then we have an E at each end. So I'm going to take my letters off, and I'm going to start placing these in the order that they go. So all of the sizes should line up. So if this is not matching, then you just need to turn it over so they all measure the same length. I'm going to repeat that for the bottom unit as well. This is the door with the two sides of the house. Again, make sure you line up the right sides together. And then D are the strips that go in between the window unit and the door unit. So it's all laid out like this. And I can take this directly to the sewing machine and start sewing my pieces together. All right, the first thing I'm going to do is my half square triangles, or the diagonal units on the top of the roof. And I am going to just stitch directly on that drawn line. I am going to do another seam. And this gives me a free half square triangles. It's a little small, but it's always fun to collect these and use them in different projects. So I'm going to set that aside and repeat the process for the other side. Again, sewing on that drawn line. Going to cut that extra half square triangle off. I am going to set it aside. I don't want to confuse myself later and have extra parts to this, so make sure you don't put it in the pile for your blocks because that can be confusing. So now what I'm going to do, got this turned. All right, so now what I can do is go ahead and start putting these window units together. So I'm just going to start on the left-hand side and grab the side of the house plus one window. And I can just continue to sew these together. I've got it laid out, so make sure you're grabbing the right piece. I can snip off this first piece, open it up, and then I can sew that center unit. Then I'm going to open it up, and now I can sew all of these together to complete that window unit. And I can repeat the process for the door unit. Now that I have my units down, I can go ahead and start assembling the block. So I'm going to set these aside. And so I'm just going to start either at the top or the bottom. It doesn't really matter. So I'm going to grab the roof section and sew that piece. You can hand press if you want, if you're not next to a iron for a minute, just to get the seams to lay flat. I'm going to line the next piece up and sew them together. I am going to push these seams to the outside because my window fabric is light, and if this seam goes to the inside, it'll put a shadow on it and it doesn't look the best. So I'm going to push the heavy bulk to the outside where the darker house fabric is. Again, just doing some finger pressing here, sewing this next piece on. Making sure that those seams for the windows are going the right direction. And I've got the last piece, which is the door. I'm going to put the door on the top so I can see those seams a little bit better, since there's no seams on the back. All right, so now I can give this a good press.